What's up, everybody? I'm out here with Evan and Tommy right now. We're about to drive up to Santa Cruz, check out some tide pools and Natural Bridges Beach. We just got out here to Natural Bridges. About to walk down to the beach, take you guys to the tide pools. Tide pools are right down there. Alright, just got out to the tide pools. Alright, Tommy here's going to explain what tide pools are.
Alright, so basically tide pools are these small little areas safe from all the dangers of out there in the real ocean. You've got a constant flow of water coming in and out, so there's gonna be nutrients keep coming in, and you can tell these animals are they're less mobile. Some of them, like your sea anemones, they're just gonna stay there and wait for the water to come in and out, bringing new nutrients. So this is a pretty dope place to live if you're one of those.
And as to how these tide pools are created, water comes in, and then when the water goes back, not all the water goes back, so some is left over to cause erosion in the rocks, causing cuts, making deep and shallow pools, and therefore creates the tide pools that then the water can bring animals into to live in.
Right, so just as these boys said, essentially the ocean, when it comes in and out, it slowly erodes these rocks over time, creating these nice little pools which eventually fill with water and then with life.
Now before we get to some of the problems that tide pools are facing, let's learn about some of the organisms that live within the tide pools.
Alright, so if we take a look at this tide pool right here, we can see one animal that's extremely common to the tidal pool environment, and that's the sea anemone. So if we take a look at this nicely colored one right here, we can see that right in the center is where its mouth is, and around the mouth, that sort of flat looking area is called the oral disc, and then of course outside that is the tentacles. Now if we take a look at this other sea anemone in this other tide pool, we can get a closer look at the actual body of the sea anemone, which extends pretty far on this individual, as well as the pedal disc, which actually connects the sea anemone to the rock. Another extremely common animal that attaches itself to the side of rocks within tide pools is the mussel. If we take a look at this individual right here, you can see it's got that nice pretty shell. If you look down at the yellowish, goldish cords that extend from the shell, those are called the byssal threads, and those actually attach the mussels to the rocks and keep them there so that the currents or other animals can't rip them off the rocks. Now, mussels are filter feeders, and they have both an in-current siphon and an ex-current siphon. The in-current siphon pulls in water and nutrients, and then the ex-current siphon expels that, and both of those siphons are located at the front. Not clearly visible in this individual, but you can see where the shell opens up and those two siphons would come out. And then finally, the foot of the mussel is located towards the bottom, but once again, you can't really see it in this individual. In bigger tide pools, it's not uncommon to see different species of fish swimming around, such as this one right here. This is a tide pool sculpin that I managed to sneak up on. Another faster moving animal that resides within tide pools are crabs. Now, if we take a look at this individual that we caught here, we can see that it's got an exoskeleton. If we look at that top piece of the crab, that's called the cephalothorax. And at the front of the cephalothorax are the eyes of the crab. Also at the front of the crab are the claws, and each claw's got an immovable finger and a movable finger, which they use to grasp prey with. And if we flip the crab over here, you can see the abdomen, and that piece that flips up is called the apron. Other important animals that live within tide pools include starfish, barnacles, octopuses, sea snails, sea urchins, and many others.
So with human interaction as it relates to the tide pools, there's going to be a few problems. The first problem is litter. Humans litter, and through the sewage system it all gets drained down into here. The litter, obviously, it hurts the animals. They'll swallow the litter, they'll get hooked on it, and in the end it will most likely result in death. The second problem is humans coming into the tide pools and touching everything, pulling stuff off the rocks. This is obviously bad for the animals. They rely on their ability to stay on the rocks for survival. But if they get pulled off, it might injure them. Other worse consequences might happen. And the final problem with human interaction is people who don't know any better take home stuff and bring it, or like take stuff from the tide pools and bring it to their house. They think it's some cool shell, but then there's an animal living in it, and the animal then just dies because the human doesn't know how to properly care for it. So those are a few of the problems humans cause for the tide pools.
All right, I have some simple solutions to these problems that tide pools face, and one of them is simply education. If we teach people that you can't just go up to these tide pools and start ripping things off or taking things home, then these animals are going to have a much better chance at survival. Another option is littering. We need to help prevent littering, and also do our part when we go to the beaches, picking up any trash we see.